Good evening, and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 3rd, and tonight's movie is The Strangers. The Strangers is a slasher movie, and going into it, I didn't really expect that much from it. And it is more or less a kind of standard slasher movie featuring a home invasion. But for what it was okay. I would probably give it around a 7 out of 10. It wasn't anything great, but it wasn't bad. The plot is that there's a couple that's staying in like a vacation home or something, and they start getting terrorized by three people, two women and one man. They're all wearing masks, and it's clear that they want to kill them. Overall, it was a pretty solid movie, I would say. There were a few problems with it. One thing was Liv Tyler's performance as one of the leads. I don't want to judge her. This is the first thing I've ever actually seen her in, I think. So I don't know what her acting is like usually, but there were definitely some moments in this movie that didn't really work out with that performance. Like, there were a lot of second takes that needed to happen that didn't really happen. Another thing I wasn't really a fan of is the fact, two things having to do with the cinematography. First of all, there's a lot of darkness in this movie. Like, a lot of times they're thinking, like, just turn on a light. No one can see anything. But I guess that just sort of adds to the creepiness at points, but other times it was just sort of gratuitous. Speaking of which, there was also a lot of shaky cam in this movie for no reason. Like, the two of them were sitting at a table, having a conversation, and the camera was shaking around. There was no reason for it. I mean, the shaky cam was kind of useful in the, action scenes, or, like, the chase scenes, but they're just sitting at a table, and the camera is shaking around so much. One thing this movie does do that I appreciate is that it doesn't really go for the jump scares. Well, for the most part, it doesn't. There are a couple stupid jump scares in this movie, but for the most part, the terror is very slow. There's a couple of scenes where somebody's just standing there, and then behind them in the background, you can see one of the strangers just walk up there and stand there, or like walk slowly up to behind them. There are a couple of really cheap jump scares, like the typical, "Oh, I grabbed you because I was wondering where you were." But for the most part, when the jump scares actually start, they feel a little bit more earned because there was a lot of atmosphere being built up. Another thing that I enjoyed about this movie is that you know absolutely nothing about the three killers. You know nothing about them. You don't even actually get a good look at them. They actually do take off their masks at one point. But when they do, it's like, it's shots that you can't see it, like they're facing away from the camera, or like it's really far away. The man, I think, with the burlap sack over his head doesn't actually say anything throughout the entire movie, and the rest of them only say like a couple words now and then. You know nothing about these people, you don't know their motives or anything, and that adds to the creepiness in a lot of parts. This movie also definitely tries to scare you with some of the little things. Like somebody will leave something somewhere, walk out of a room, come back, and then they'll see that thing moved somewhere else. And the entire time, one of the things they're playing at is that you don't know how many of them are outside of the house, you don't know how many of them are inside the house, and they're all really quiet. They'll sneak up behind the characters, and the characters won't notice. But actually, it goes in reverse at one point. One of the two, the woman, sees one of the people, and she just stands there quietly, and the stranger, like, just walks by and keeps walking by. He doesn't notice her. And that was another really good, creepy moment. There's a lot of pretty good tension building in this movie. Overall, I would say that if you like slashers, you'll probably like this. Out of all the movies I've seen, the closest it is to probably would be You're Next, which I did like more than this. That one had some fun with it in a very dark kind of way, and also added a few things to like set it apart. This one didn't really, but for what it is, it's not bad at all. Alright, now let's start with the spoilers. One of the things that becomes clear as the movie continues is that these three aren't there just go in, kill the people, and leave. They are purposely toying with them. They're trying to scare them. And you can see that they kind of enjoy it. Like, one of them, like, says, "You're gonna die," and she's, like, laughing as she says it. And, like, we see enough into what these people are like and what they think in order for it to be pretty scary and effective. On the flip side of that, there was also this really stupid moment, like the guy calls one of his friends to come pick him up, and then the guy comes up there, and this is after, like, they've fully broken and they're chasing around the couple. He goes in, and then he sees, like, there's things turned over, there's broken glass, there's stuff all over the floor, he has no idea what's going on, and then he just decides to, like, very quietly walk around the house. Like, it's sort of like what happened in The Descent. Like, yes, like, we as the audience know that there are killers in the house, and if he makes too loud of a noise, they'll find him, but he doesn't know that. And then he walks around a corner, and the couple is waiting there, and the guy has a shotgun, and he accidentally shoots that guy. Again, like, what do you expect when you do that type of stuff? For the most part, this movie is at its best when it's focusing on the strangers themselves, the three murderers. There was also something else that this movie did that I liked. It starts out with the 911 call of some character calling the police, reporting what happened. It's very frantic. At the very end of the movie, you see these two kids come across the house. Like, the three killers left. They even had a conversation with the kids before they left. And the kids, like, look in and they see it, and I assumed throughout the entire movie that they were both going to die. But one of the kids reaches out to touch Liv Tyler's character, and she, like, comes back up and screams like she's not dead. That I thought was unexpected, because you weren't thinking that either one was alive. I mean, obviously, you can tell what's going to happen once he starts, like, slowly reaching over to touch him, but throughout the entire movie, I was under the assumption that the strangers killed both of them. So that was something that was at least a little bit interesting about its ending. The Strangers is nothing special, but for what it is, it's not bad. If you like slashers, you'll probably have a fun time with it. If you're not a fan of that genre, it's okay. I'll see you guys tomorrow.